Hello there. Don't I have some special treats for you today? Enjoy. I work for a leisure company, think soft play, indoor soccer, laser tag, can't be specific. Prior to lockdown, managers and the big bosses were negotiating the renewal of the lease on one of our parks. Things were going mostly smoothly, however, the landlords were difficult to contact. Then 2020's poop hit the fan. All of our sites were closed, and everything was thrown into a mess. Negotiations began to slip down the priority list. Nobody thought the landlord would push an eviction for an expired lease during this period. Especially with it still getting rent, despite the site's closure, and the closure of every business and restaurant in the immediate area. We were wrong. A few days ago we received a letter saying we had 7 days to leave the premises and take everything with us. We are reminded that anything left in the building after 7 days will become the landlord's property. That line is very important. Now a lot of construction goes into installing our equipment into a new building, which makes emptying one even harder. At a lockdown, with no staff and most businesses shut, it meant that saving much of our assets would prove to be extremely difficult. To lose a profitable site and all of its assets is definitely a blow to our company. But here is where it gets worse. A few days into our 7-day eviction, we find out that the landlord has been advertising our park to our competitors. But he isn't offering just the building, he is offering all of our stuff pre-installed. Ready to go, just needs rebranding. The landlord has evicted us from the property in an attempt to increase rent and make a solid profit from our equipment installed because he thinks we won't be able to empty the park. We were furious. And here is where the malicious compliance came in. We were told we had 7 days to move everything we owned out of the property. So that's what we did. Local businesses from all around offered up free space to store our things. A few people came back out of lockdown and they all spent the rest of the week removing, selling or destroying everything that was related to us. We didn't even leave light fittings. In every other site vacation we have seen, we always end up leaving thousands of dollars worth of disco lights in the ceilings because they're too hard to get. We leave most the construction in, as well as things like the bars and kitchens that all stay intact, recognizable as what they once were, but not this building. We ripped up the flooring we installed, tore down the walls that were not part of the original structure, wooden walls to divide up the space, ripped apart our manager's offices and removed all artwork, and lockers. The landlord now has every new deal he has been making dead in the water, a large renovation bill to install new flooring etc. or a company willing to do it themselves like we were. Lockdown has been extended another 4 weeks, so he has at least another 4 weeks without rent, we were paying. And won't have any potential buyers. Silver lining, the assets we got out of the site, fridges, TVs, equipment, food, tables, have all been sold, and the lack of rent and additional income has helped the business and paid staff wages. In 2018, I lived in southern CA while I was finishing up graduate school. Uber was more popular than ever and given how spread out CA is in general was an easy side hustle to shuttle people back and forth. However, I only did it for a little while because I'm not really the most patient person and eventually got tired of people's BS and attitudes. One of the common tactics for customers looking to screw a driver was to cancel their rides in the middle of the trip to avoid paying the fare. They would often say how they did it accidentally and then ask me if I could just finish the trip since we were basically there anyway. This happened to me 3 times. The first 2 times, I pulled over and told them to get out of my car, to which they complied, albeit they called me several names and threatened to kill me. The third time is the subject of this post. It was about 4:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday when I decided to log on and catch some fares. Most people go into the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays and are looking to get rides home between 4 to 5 p.m. to beat the traffic. At this point, I should mention that I was living in San Diego. If you know the area, you'd know that many people work in the city and live in the outer areas, Chula Vista, Imperial Beach, Escondido, Pacific Beach, because it's cheaper. The day of the event, oh yes it was an event lol, I picked up a middle-aged girl who was a student at the community college downtown. Although she was in community college, I could tell she had money by the way she dressed and where she was going, La Jolla. She gets in my car and starts to make conversation with me. I am driving through town and as I am about to get on the highway I hear the cancellation ding. I pull over to a parking lot and let her know that she canceled the ride and I could not drive her until she rebooked it. She gave me the "it was an accident" excuse. I told her not a problem and to just rebook the route. Well, at this point, all those people I told you about earlier had just got off of work and we were in what I call the power hour of maximum surge pricing. La Jolla is like 25 to 40 minutes from downtown San Diego depending on traffic. I looked and the trip would have cost her $70. She told me that she wasn't going to pay that. I said fine and I asked that she exit my vehicle. She refused and told me to take her home like I was her chauffeur. At this point, I was pissed and wouldn't have done it even if she gave me $100 cash. I didn't really need the money. I asked her politely again. She refused. I had never really gotten to this point before. The other two people were guys and I would have had no qualms about yanking their butts out by force and beating them in the middle of the highway. However, that wouldn't have been a good look in this situation. I thought about going to the police given we were 3 blocks from the headquarters, but I wanted her to feel the burn. Compliance. I asked her if she wanted a free ride. She suddenly perked up and said, "I knew you'd come around, you are such a nice guy." I said buckle up and we got on Interstate 5. Here is the part where I tell you that San Diego is 16 miles from the Mexican border. I also keep my passport in my glove compartment because I did volunteer work in Rosarito every so often. We were about 4 minutes into the ride when she asked where we were going. I turned around and told her I'm going to Tijuana and I'm glad you could join me. I hope you brought your passport. At first she didn't think I was serious, but by exit 4 she started to panic. I told her she was welcome to get out at any time, but she needed to make a decision soon because after we passed exit 1 there was no turning back. I also told her that I wasn't taking her back. Well, she got the message and pleaded for me to pull over. I pulled over and dropped her off at the outlet mall in San Isidro at the border. Just for craps and giggles I checked the Uber rate from the mall to La Jolla and the cheapest rate was $87 for a pool ride. I didn't make any money that night, but that was the richest experience I had while being a rideshare driver. I stopped about 1 month later and sold my car. In 2017 I signed for my webshop a contract with our national mail carrier to deliver my parcels. The more parcels the better rates you get. In my league they had a 1,000, 2,000 or 5,000 parcel target contract. I went with the 2K one. At the end of year 1 there would be an evaluation, and they said they would be very flexible and reasonable because their priority is to help grow my business. I actually had that in writing. For any parcel I had sent through them beyond the 2K target I'd get a 50% refund of the difference between the 2K and 5K rate. For example, 2K rate is 3,5 euro/parcel and 5K rate is 3 euro/parcel. They would refund me 0,25 euro back for each parcel above my 2K goal. On the other hand, for each parcel I was short at the end of the year of the 2K target, they would charge me double the difference between the 2K and the 5K rate on top of a flat rate penalty fee. So basically 1 euro per parcel I was short in the previous example plus penalty. End of year 1 of my contract is 2 weeks away and I'm sitting at 1850 parcels. Thinking that 92.5% of my target is pretty good for year 1, I gave them a call to talk about the extra charges and the penalty, and see if I could get the 5K rate for the next year as I was expecting strong growth. In the end it was their priority to help grow my business, and they are very flexible and reasonable. No sir. They were dead set on me paying the penalty, charge me extra for the 150 parcels, and on top of that they would set me back to the more expensive 1K target rate for the next year. Tried to escalate it but to no avail. So much for help growing my business and being very flexible and reasonable. In comes malicious compliance. I did the math and paying the penalty plus extra charges was nearly double of what it would cost me to reach my target if I would just pay for 150 extra parcels out of my own pocket. I bought 150 bubble wrap envelopes dirt cheap, printed 150x stickers with my own address, put those on each envelope, drove to the mail office and dropped off 150 empty envelopes. Next morning the mailman arrives at my door with a grin on his face, he is a cool guy, and a stash of envelopes, wondering what I am up to. Later that day I called them to let them know I had reached my target and that I would not renew my contract. I signed with a competitor for about the same price per parcel, no strings attached, and did 17K parcels in year 2, which amounts to 50K euro in business they missed out on. Back when I was in college, I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with a nice German student. He was a nice guy, and he would often have his friends over. I didn't mind it at all because I just moved there and needed new friends anyways. Our landlady though, she was a nightmare. She was this small grumpy lady who would complain over the smallest things. She doesn't live with us, but tries to control everything, the color of our sheets, the scent of candles that we light, where we put our stuffs, etc. Needless to say, we hated her. We pay for our electricity and water, so it doesn't matter if we have our friends/family stay over once in a while because whatever they consume more of, we will foot the bill ourselves anyways. My sister visits me once a month for one night, just whenever she's in town. One day, my landlord found out and got so mad she wanted to call the cops on us for not respecting the rule of guests cannot spend the night at her property. The only reason she does this is because she feels if a guest would stay a night they would have to pay her the full rent for the month. But malicious compliance. When one of my German roommate's friends was laid off from his main job, he was left homeless with only a grave shift part-time job. He asked if he could stay with us for about a week or two. I told him I didn't mind but the landlady might. They told me not to worry. And she was fuming when she found out. Easily, the day after he decided to stay with us because she checks on us unannounced every other day, and has security cameras outside our door. She threatened to call the cops on us again, and all my roommate said was, "But you told us explicitly no one can spend the night at your property. He is never here at night because he's working, so there's no rule broken here." She had nothing to say and left. We could hear her screaming from inside her car that was parked right outside. What did you think? What would you have done differently? Share your opinions in the comments. And if you enjoyed the stories, slap that like and subscribe button for more of them, and don't forget to support the original writers with an upvote. Links are in the description. Peace out, and catch you tomorrow.